Let me tell you a story about salt, and one which was possibly the most defining moment in my career so far. You're always told in every chef's cookbook, every classical cookbook, that you have to have salt in your blanching water to keep your green vegetables green. Rubbish. That's complete nonsense. Right, I've said it. I've committed gastronomic heresy. Now, a few years ago, I could never understand this practice. I wanted to know why the salt kept the green colour of the vegetables. And all books said, well, they fix the colour. And for me, that wasn't enough. So I did some experiments myself, omitting the salt, and was surprised to find that the green still stayed. So I now decided that I needed to find a scientist that wanted to work with a chef. After some investigative work, I managed to contact Peter Barham, physicist at Bristol University. We've now become friends. And Pete, do you remember that first phone call?
How could I forget? Why do I put salt in water when I cook beans? Straight in there with a question, no messing around. But it led to some interesting times since, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was bizarre because every cookbook, there's so much conflicting advice in cookbooks. Some tell you that salt raises the boiling temperature of water. Some cookbooks tell you it lowers it.
It does raise the boiling temperature of water. You chuck a handful of salt in a pound of water and the boiling pot will rise by a minuscule amount, a fraction of 1 degree. Sort of difference you'd get if you cooked on a hot summer's day as opposed to cooking on a cool winter's day, when there's a difference in atmospheric pressure, because pressure has a big effect on boiling point as well as adding salt.
Salt in the water definitely doesn't add seasoning, does it?
Doesn't add seasoning, the water just drops off the bean.
Another myth, that if you throw your handful of salt into boiling water and then throw the beans in at the same time, the salt makes the water boil even more vigorously.
People think it changes the properties of water because when you throw a handful of salt into boiling water, it appears to boil more rapidly. If you throw a handful of sand in, the same would happen. It's just nucleating bubbles in there. It's an effect of the powder going in. All that's happening is the fine powder makes bubbles nucleate, so they come to the surface quickly. It's letting trapped air coming out and some steam coming out quickly. So it's simply a question of the fact they've got small particles in there
falling through the water.
As it falls through the water.
It's not changing the temperature of the water anyway.
It's nothing to do with the fact that it's